A win is a win, and every single week it is hard to get wins in the National Football League. But that win was an ugly win for the Philadelphia Eagles, and there is a lot to talk about here. On today's Eagles Now postgame show, I'm Chase Sr. The Birds able to edge the Cleveland Browns by a final score of 20-16, and in the process, the Eagles moved their record to 3-2, setting up a date next week in Week 7 against the division rival New York Giants. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate you for making this postgame show a part of your day. And be sure to hit that subscribe button for daily shows on the Birds. And thanks to everybody also who tuned into the watch party this afternoon, as once again, we put up massive numbers. The Eagles offense did not put up massive numbers. There was not massive production. Eagles able to win this game by 4. There was some good, there was some bad, and we're going to talk about that here on the postgame show. And I do want to remind everybody, this Browns offense, one of the worst offenses in the National Football League, and one of the worst offenses since the turn of the century in 2000. All throughout this week, we had talked about the Browns' lack of efficiency, how they're one of the worst teams as far as EPA per play, giving up the most sacks in the NFL. They're dead last in yards picked up, dead last in yards per play, 30th in points, one of the worst third down teams in the National Football League. And so this Eagles defense came to play. This Eagles offense did have issues against one of the most well-coached defenses in the NFL, led by Jim Schwartz. And for this Browns defense, they have gotten no help from their offense. So they've been on the field so much this year because the offense has been so terrible. And over the course of a 60-minute ball game, these Browns defensive numbers have started to trickle off and fall downhill just because they're on the field so much. But this is a game that Philadelphia should have dominated. This is a game that should have never been close at all, and it was close. The Eagles, once again, were sloppy coming out of the bye week. That's unacceptable. They were disjointed. They weren't organized. They didn't play with team discipline. The offense was so sporadic, and it didn't look like a team that had a lot of confidence on the offensive side of the football. Nick Sirianni moves to 4-0 after the bye. Philadelphia's 3-2. I thought that he was kind of coaching for his job because if Philadelphia lost this game to Cleveland, the sports talk radio segments and some of the reactions from the fans would have been white hot. The seat beneath him would have been extra hot. We just saw Robert Saleh get fired last week against the New York Jets. You could not come out of the bye and lose this game against one of the worst teams in the NFL that I expect to be picking in the top 5 of the 2025 NFL draft. At the same time, we wanted to see this Eagles team instill some hope, instill some confidence, and get some positive momentum going into next week's game against the New York Giants. But when you come away from this game, do you have any more confidence in Nick Sirianni? No. Are you still wondering what the hell is going on with this offense? Yes. Are you questioning if Nick Sirianni has too much say in the offensive play calling, the system, the play designs, and he's overstepping on Kellen Moore? Yeah, I wonder that a little bit. Are you wondering if this team isn't bought in on what Nick Sirianni is preaching? That was a pretty lackluster, non-inspiring performance from this Eagles team here today. Again, a win is a win, but there's the lack of discipline, a lack of confidence, lack of execution, lack of creativity, and that simply cannot occur when the Eagles are coming off a bye week when they got back A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith and Lane Johnson. And how about the struggles of this Eagles special teams unit? Michael Clay's special teams have now been responsible for momentum-turning plays the last 3 games. A blocked punt against the Saints, a muffed punt against the Buccaneers, and a blocked field goal attempt today against the Browns, which was scooped and scored 50 yards by former Eagle Rodney McLeod right before halftime. And a big play like that, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, is able to inject hope. It's able to give a dead team positive momentum and give them belief that they can win the football game. And the Eagles go from being up 13-3, going into the locker room at recess, to this game somehow being tied 10-10, and the Boo Birds were out in Philadelphia. And as the Eagles are going into the locker room, there were chants of "Fire Nick" echoing from the stands. And obviously, Eagles fans, myself, Chip, we grew up in the Philadelphia area. We know how this goes. And Nick Sirianni's not going to get fired after this game, and he was jawing back and forth with Eagles fans after Philadelphia won this game. But his job as the CEO head coach is to have this team exercising discipline and execution, to manage the game, to not be sloppy. And this Eagles team doesn't do a lot to inject confidence in themselves or this fan base going into next week. We are only beginning to take flight on today's post-game show. Don't you dare go anywhere. But today's Eagles Now post-game show, sponsored by our friends at Game Time. If you want the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed, download the Game Time app. Game Time specializes in last-minute tickets, and you're guaranteed to get in the door with the best seats and the best vantage point, putting together great memories while also saving some money. Thanks to Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier to find tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and more. I love how you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can access tickets right from the power of your own phone, and if you want to resell those tickets, you can do that as well. Guaranteed to have the lowest price, otherwise they'll give you your money back. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. What time is it? Game time. We'll put that information down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. So working off what I was saying a little bit earlier, Nick Sirianni has to do a better job. This Eagles offense has too many elite players to be this average. Now, of course, they dominate Cleveland, but not on the scoreboard. 372 total yards for Philadelphia to the Browns 244. They picked up 19 first downs to the Browns 14. Philadelphia 5 of 14 on third down, not great, but the Browns only 3 of 12. Philadelphia penalized 5 times for 40 yards. The Browns 7 times for 55. And then time of possession started to tilt toward Cleveland later in this game because they did go on some of these elongated drives. But again, this shouldn't be close to a loss, which it was. It shouldn't be close on the scoreboard. And for this game to be 20-16, just not acceptable. Let's talk some positive moments, and let's talk some good about this Eagles team. Number one, the play of quarterback Jalen Hurts. Now, the Eagles didn't have a lot of answers against the blitz. Jalen Hurts looked confused going up against pressure looks, but what did he not do? Jalen Hurts, in this game, finally played a clean game. He did not turn the football over. 16 of 25, 264 yards, 10.5 yards per completion, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no fumbles. He was sacked 1 time, and he had a rating of 126.1. So he was pretty efficient. The long touchdown to A.J. Brown, slightly underthrown, great adjustment midair, made by A.J. Brown, who made his impact be felt in this game, as he was fantastic. 6 catches, 116 yards. And then how about the dagger play call late as the Eagles throw it downfield in a running situation, and they put the sword through the chest of the Cleveland Browns. They put this game on ice. Another pretty good throw from Jalen Hurts. Couple of other good throws down the seams. The touchdown that he threw to DeVonta Smith, 45 yards. That was a good play design off the pick route, the rub route. DeVonta Smith came free on the crosser. Good block downfield by Grant Calcaterra. But the thing I wanted to see from Jalen Hurts, this is what I talked about in my keys to the game in the lead up to this one. Play a clean brand of football. Play disciplined football. Do not turn the rock over. Jalen Hurts led that effort here today. As for this Eagles running game, hard for them to get going all day. Jim Schwartz, one of the top defensive minds in the game, he loaded the box. A lot of 6, 7, 8-man fronts and boxes for Cleveland that made it really hard for the Eagles to run the ball. And Philadelphia only ran it 36 times for 116 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. You could tell that Jim Schwartz wanted to make Jalen Hurts beat him. And at the end of the day, Hurts was able to do that with a couple of big throws downfield. The return of A.J. Brown, he's just one of the top wide receivers in the game. And he's arguably becoming the best wide receiver in the history of this organization. It's the long ball threat. It's the ball tracking ability, the contested catch ability, being able to pick up yards after the catch. That patented A.J. Brown catch it, spin around, and run for yards after the catch is just such a dynamic move from him where he could seamlessly just throw defenders off his back. DeVonta Smith, one of the top number 2 wide receivers in the game. 3 catches for 64, the long being the 45-yard touchdown in which he showed that speed after the catch. I thought Grant Calcaterra had his best game as a pro, 4 catches for 67. It was good to see Jahan Dotson get involved. He had a couple of solid plays, 1 catch for 10 yards on that final drive, and then he had a carry on a swing pass, which was behind the line of scrimmage. That went for 13 yards. So it was good to see him involved. Dallas Goedert played 3 plays in this game, and that was it. He went out with a hamstring injury. He did not return, and we'll continue to monitor that injury for one of the top all-around tight ends in the National Football League. Of course, with this game, and when you look at the scoreboard, you see the Browns didn't surpass 16 points. They're the only team to not score more than 18 points in a single game this year. This Eagles defense, led by Vic Fangio, absolutely brought it today. Going into this game, the Browns were giving up an NFL worst 5.2 sacks per game. Their offensive line has been horrendous. Deshaun Watson hasn't trusted what he's seen. He's held onto the ball too long, and he was consistently under duress in this game. And finally, the Eagles' defensive line was able to show up. I thought that they were dominant from the start of this game to the end. What I also loved was that Vic Fangio, in the previous 4 games, didn't dial up a lot of pressure. In this game, he was smelling blood. He took advantage and exploited a mismatch and a weakness of the Cleveland Browns. How about the blitz calls from Vic Fangio, which ended up working out? You had Cooper DeJean tally a half sack, couple of corner blitzes from him. I wanted to see Vic Fangio use him in a versatile Trent McDuffie way. He did that. Josh Sweat had a sack. Nolan Smith had a sack. Bryce Huff made some plays. He had a half sack. Milton Williams, Thomas Booker, they both had a half sack. This Eagles defense put the team on their back today. That's the biggest reason why the Philadelphia Eagles won this football game. On the injury front for Philadelphia here, Jordan Mailata left the game. He got carted off. They're calling it a hamstring injury. Very interesting. He went down. He walked off with some assistance, and then he got carted off. So he's one of the top left tackles in the game. And we'll see what that injury is for Jordan Mailata. For Dallas Goedert, a hamstring injury for him as well. Those are 2 of your top players on the offensive side of the football. But this Browns team, they were 30th in points per game, 32nd in yards per game, 32nd in yards per play. They were giving up all those sacks and pressures, and this Eagles defense was able to take advantage of that and beat down on the opposition. So an ugly win for Philadelphia. It doesn't do a lot to instill a lot of confidence in us, but a win is a win. And with that, speaking of confidence, are you confident in this Eagles team moving forward? Y for yes and for no. Sound off with what you think down in the comment section right now. And as always, we appreciate your support of the show.